Give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to thank ASG Nsuya for her briefing, providing an overview of the humanitarian situation resulting from this conflict. We also take note of her call for cessation of hostilities and an end to this conflict. We also welcome the participation of Ukraine and other European members in this meeting. Madam President, Pakistan is deeply concerned by this conflict that has caused immense human suffering and massive damage to infrastructure, economy, and society. It has had vast consequences for the global economy and particularly for the developing countries. Pakistan's position on this and other conflicts is based on adherence to the principles of the UN Charter, self-determination for peoples, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity of states, and non-acquisition of territory by the threat or use of force. Consistent with the Charter, states must also implement international agreements and abide by their respective obligations, and also respond to the legitimate security interests of all states. Madam President, in the context of today's meeting, I would like to make the following points. First, the conflict in Ukraine, which has now entered its fourth year, has taken a heavy toll on the civilian population. This is highly regrettable. Every human life matters and is not merely a number. Second, the protection of civilians and civilian infrastructure is an obligation under international law and international humanitarian law, and must be fully and consistently respected by all parties. Third, for a humanitarian response to be effective and responsive to the needs of the affected population, it is vital that access and protection of humanitarian workers be ensured. The parties are under obligation to ensure conditions that allow unimpeded access for the humanitarian workers while ensuring their protection. Fourth, the Third Geneva Convention related to treatment of prisoners of war is binding on all parties to the conflict. Strict adherence to those obligations must be ensured. And President, this Council is meeting to discuss developments related to Ukraine for the first time since the adoption of Resolution 2774 last month. That resolution mourned the tragic loss of life throughout this conflict, reiterated that the principal purpose of the UN, in accordance with its charter, was to maintain international peace and security and to peacefully settle disputes. It also called for a swift end to the conflict and a lasting peace. This resolution and the ensuing diplomatic efforts have imparted a new impetus to the prospects for an early end to the fighting. In this context, we welcome the limited ceasefire agreement reached, banning the targeting of energy-related infrastructure, and more recently, to ensure safe navigation in the Black Sea. We appreciate the U.S. and its leadership's active engagement, also involving the Russian and Ukrainian leadership in bringing this to fruition. We remain optimistic that this new dynamic and the momentum generated by these initial steps would eventually lead to a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire. We hope that the parties would earnestly abide by their commitments. We also commend the role of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its leadership in facilitating dialogue for promoting peace. When President, Pakistan's position on the Ukraine conflict has been consistent. Pakistan enjoys friendly relations with both Russia and Ukraine. From the outset, we have advocated dialogue and diplomacy, immediate cessation of hostilities, and a peaceful resolution of this conflict. We believe that security concerns, which remain at the center of this conflict, can only be addressed through an inclusive approach, which in turn would ensure the sustainability and durability of peace in the wider region. To conclude, I would like to reiterate Pakistan's support for diplomatic initiatives for cessation of hostilities and that help bridge differences and lead the parties towards a peaceful, just, and durable settlement of this tragic conflict through a constructive and inclusive process in full respect of UN Charter, international law, the relevant multilateral agreements, and which at the same time is responsive to the legitimate national security interests of all sides. I thank you.
I thank